First Court. Give them a call at 867-1213. It's a caring place for people and plants. It's Kenny's Place.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. You know, if we came here to learn, then we're teaching each other. When by came here, I mean living on this in this life. You know, we learn from each other, don't we? If as you get older, if you ever have considered, maybe you have written a memoir or just some kind of a writing that you intend to give to your children or somebody so that they know what you went through in this lifetime, you might go back in your mind's your mind's memory, I guess you would say, and find some people who you realize only in looking back that you actually learned from. I mean, when you say who did you learn from, you immediately think of teachers, and certainly they've contributed to what you know. But how many of you have somebody in the past that taught you things that were profound that weren't even categorized as teachers, although they certainly taught you things? Such is the story we're going to hear right now. Dr. Rick Neese is on the phone. He has written a book called Side Yard Superhero, and we're going to hear about a friend of his named Bernie Jones. Dr. Neese is an award-winning author and teacher. He served as a classroom teacher in the traditional type of teacher. He's a public school administrator, a university professor, a university provost. I don't even know what that is, so he's going to teach me that. He's a university president and currently serves as president emeritus for the University of the Ozarks. The book, again, is called Side Yard Superhero, Life Lessons from an Unlikely Teacher and Fanfare for a Hometown series. This is book one of his memoir. Wow, he's got more than one book coming out. Dr. Rick Neese, good morning, doctor.
Oh, Larry, well, you call me Rick. You know, I've been introduced a variety of times, and I'm not sure that I've had an introduction that's been that thorough and that has really nailed the essence of the book that well. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for that, and I will call you Rick. Thank you, Rick, for giving me that permission.
Yes, okay.
Where are you calling?
Who's laughing in the background?
Where are you calling?
Robin.
Where are you? Oh, that's Robin. Yes, I'm sorry. You're talking to Robin and Larry, just so you know who we are.
Yes.
Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Hot Springs Village, Arkansas.
Arkansas. All right.
I was raised in Ohio and came here for a university presidency and retired here. We love the area so much.
And your mom is the book opens up with a call from your mom. What's the time difference between Arkansas and Ohio? Is it that?
It was 2 hours at that time.
2 hours, okay.
And my mother could never keep that time straight. But she had very important news to tell me, and in her mind, it couldn't wait until the next day.
And what was the news? This is a good. The book starts this way, so this is a good way to start the interview.
Yeah, and the book starts in the present, drifts, slowly back into the past, and then ends in the present. When I was raised in this small town of DeGraff, Ohio, and when I say small town, that's what I mean. It was a town of 900 people. And when I was 9 years old, my father decided that I needed more responsibility and I needed to learn how to manage money better. So I took over a paper route of 72 customers when I was 9 years old. Loved all my customers, but there was one customer in particular on my paper route who became very special to me. And over the years, as I thought back about him, even more special, is a young man by the name of Bernie Jones, who had very severe cerebral palsy.
Wow.
And so severe that he was strapped into a wheelchair, and his parents would bring him out into this small side yard, and that's where he'd spend much of his day. And we would have a chance to interact then when I would deliver the paper. And over the years, we developed a good friendship. But I lost track of him. And the telephone call from my mother was to let me know she had discovered where Bernie Jones was, and that he was in a nursing home back in Ohio.
How much older is he than you?
That's a great question. I did not know that for years. 10 years older.
10 years older.
And in many ways, he was more mature than I, and in many ways, he was less mature than I. This was a time when there weren't ADA requirements, and there was not schooling for him, especially in this small town. So, but he was one of the most intelligent guys I ever met. But I would deliver the newspaper to him, and I have to tell you, Larry, the very first time I met him was a disaster. I was nervous about meeting him. I'd heard about him, and I could not understand a word he said. He had a very guttural, just very, very difficult to understand. Oh. And I panicked and put the paper on his lap, jumped on my bike, drove away, and that night I told my dad, I can't do this anymore. I can't face him. And my father, in true father knows best fashion, said, you know what? You're going to keep this paper out. You go back and you treat him like you treat any of your other friends, and you work to make him feel comfortable with you. That worked. The next day we found out we had something in common, and that was Dick Tracy. And Dick Tracy was a comic strip in this newspaper I delivered. So every day we'd start the day with my delivery with me reading him Dick Tracy.
Oh, wow.
Then I would talk about my day in school, whatever had happened.
That is really sweet.
Yeah, it was. And my goal was, and ended up happening, to get him out of that side yard and to take him around parts of DeGraff. And we had some great adventures, which I recount in the book.
What do you mean by a side yard? I don't know what a side yard is.
Okay, that's okay. A side yard in a small town would be that it wouldn't be the front yard, but it was a yard that was at the side of the house.
Okay.
And the way their house was built, the house was really very close to the road, and all they had was this small side yard, and the side yard was also beside a railroad track. So hence the title, Side Yard Superhero.
Yeah, Robin and I were talking about this. Robin grew up in Milwaukee. I grew up in New York, and there was no room for a side yard where I grew up.
That is fascinating. In fact, I had a reviewer from Chicago in a review say this couldn't have happened. There's nothing like this. And it's because he couldn't identify with it.
Oh, really?
And and certainly there are things about big cities that I can't identify with. But no, a small side yard, and that's where he sat most of the day. And I know that a good part of that day he was thinking up schemes for the two of us to do. Now, I could only spend about 10 or 15 minutes with him daily because I had the rest of the papers to deliver. But it was amazing. It was an amazing experience for me, and a major influence that really affected me for the rest of my life and within my career.
Is he still alive?
That would be a book spoiler.
Okay. We won't ask that question. But but let me ask you this then, because it sounds like you are putting him in a place in your life that he greatly influenced you. I'm wondering if I were to read his memoir, would he be saying the same thing about you?
But that is a terrific question. I'm getting. Toward the end of the book, I say something, and I say in the book, I'm not trying to be selfish, but I hope that the newspaper years and it was 9 years that we were friends, were among his best years as well. And I think when I think back on it, and when I met, it was 40 years. I promised him the last time I delivered the newspaper that I would see him again. But as you know, college, then career, then life, then geographic distance got in the way. And when I did go back to see him, I found out that his parents had died and that he had been taken in by a relative somewhere, but nobody knew where. And at that time, social media wasn't as strong as it is now, and it wasn't easy to trace somebody. And not only that, there was one factory in DeGraff. It was right beside his house, and when his parents died, the company bought up the house, tore it down, and expanded the parking lot. So you can imagine my shock when I'm going back and I just see a parking lot where his house was.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But 40 years later, when I had a chance, we spent the day together, and we recounted these adventures that we had had together, and I realized how important they were to him. But that's such a great question you asked, because I don't know what other people throughout those 40 years, or what other experiences that he would have had. But I hope I'd be at least a chapter.
But I'm guessing somebody who is confined to a wheelchair must have his or her own ways to accept the way people treat them. And when somebody can break that barrier, as you obviously did, and as a young guy who could do that at the encouragement of your father, which was very wise on his part, I mean, that must have meant the world to him.
Yeah, I think that's what you just said is a great lesson today. I think we see people with disabilities, or we see somebody in a wheelchair, and suddenly they become invisible to us, and we don't make eye contact.
Right.
And I've always felt eye contact and a smile, it makes a big difference. And if you can just stop and say hello, that makes a big difference as well, because we're all alike. We might have some physical differences,
absolutely,
but we're all alike in terms of how we think, how we want to be accepted, what our needs and desires are, what our dreams are.
What a beautiful thing to say. What a beautiful thing you're saying.
And when you did see him all those years later, when he was in a nursing home, that was a huge emotional scenario for the both of you.
Oh, I walked in, and first of all, he was lying in a bed, and that was only the second time I'd seen him out of his wheelchair. And I found out later that he had to be in the bed 23 hours a day. He could only be in his wheelchair 1 hour a day because of a back condition and a heart condition. And I got into his room, and I looked around, and he had NASCAR posters with Jeff Gordon, who was if you know NASCAR, Jeff Gordon's a pretty legendary NASCAR driver. And after a moment, he looked over at me, our eyes met, and I said, "Bernie, it's Rick Nies, your old paper boy." I had to rephrase my greeting because over the years, Bernie would call me Ricky, my boy. And it would be like, "Ricky, my boy, get down here," when he'd see me riding my bike. "I got a great idea today, something we can do." So I rephrased my greeting, and I said, "Bernie, it's Ricky Nies." And I just got emotional.
That's awesome. I'm loving this so much. We need to take a little break, Rick. Rick Nies is our guest. He has written this is a true love story. I mean, it really is in the truest sense of what the word love means. The book is called Side Yard Superhero, Life Lessons from an Unlikely Teacher. I want to continue this, of course. So let's take a little break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to WOCA.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, times of clouds and sunshine with an afternoon thunderstorm in spots, the high 84 to 88. Partly cloudy tonight. There can be a shower or thunderstorm in places along the coast, the low 70 to 74. For tomorrow, more clouds and sun with a couple of showers and thunderstorms in the area, the high 83 to 87. On Friday, times of sun and clouds with a thunderstorm around during the late morning and afternoon hours, the high 84 to 88. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Are you in need of custom screen printing, embroidery, or promotional items? Then look no further and come visit the brand new Legacy Team Sales. LTS is conveniently located off 17th Street next to Armstrong Homes in beautiful Ocala. We offer the best prices and highest quality products for your company, team, school, or nonprofit. Whether looking for screen printed shirts, embroidered polos, or travel team uniforms, you'll be sure to find it at Legacy Team Sales. Come visit our new 27,000 square foot facility. Our friendly and knowledgeable sales staff will assist you in every part of your custom purchase. LTS carries the hottest brands in the industry like Under Armour, Russell, Mizuno, Asics, Badger Sports, Gildan, Pacific, Ogio, and many more. At LTS, screen printing embroidery is done in-house and we guarantee customer satisfaction. Stop by, give us a call, or check us out on the web at shoplts.com. Remember the name, LTS.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hi, this is Becky at Hello Gorgeous Salon. Summer's almost over and fall's just around the corner. It's time to get that new look started. Let's get rid of those sun-damaged ends and faded out color and get into something rich and vibrant. Humidity is not your hair's friend. It causes your hair to capture moisture and leaves it looking dry and unhealthy. Hello Gorgeous is a certified Brazilian blowout salon. We can tame those locks, leaving your hair healthy and shiny with the Brazilian smoothing treatment. And whether you're going on a job interview or out on a date, your hands do a lot of talking. Manicures are a must. Hello Gorgeous is a full-service salon, so let us help you make a great first impression. Call us today to set your appointment at Hello Gorgeous. Our number is 352-351-5358. Again, that's 352-351-5358. Hello Gorgeous is conveniently located in the heart of downtown Ocala, right next to the historic Marion Theater.
Hello Gorgeous.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, a new spoiler, and a new trunk.
We can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too, huh?
Well, as a matter of fact, join me every Monday at 10 for auto repair with personal care here on The Source.
Of course you do.
All right, 10 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Probably a lot of you know that Robin and I help out an organization called the Children's Craniofacial Association. And we don't help them out a whole lot, to be honest with you, but we contribute a little bit to them. We made a video for them and have had interviews with them on the air. Just a surface level relationship with them, but nevertheless a deep relationship. And for those who don't know what children's craniofacial syndrome is, basically they're born with facial issues that will make them never, ever looking what you would consider normal. They have to learn to accept that. And when I went to a luau picnic down in Orlando one time,
last year,
the one thing that really struck me was this, that when you have something that sets you apart, like being in a wheelchair, like the guest, the friend of the guest that we're talking to right now, or maybe a facial deformity or something that sets you apart, you often are absolutely alone in this world until you realize that you're not alone in this world, and that almost sounded like a Yogi Berra-ism, didn't it? But I'm thinking, when they got together, they realized, and the parents realized, look, my children can have friends and they won't pick on them or they won't. But for somebody like you, you're a good-looking guy, Rick. And for those who didn't hear the first part, Rick Neese is our guest. He's the author of a book called Side Yard Superhero. So you're a good-looking guy. And as a young man, you didn't have to spend your time. There's something special about you. This is what I think.
Well, yeah, and I really appreciate that. And I think probably it was my upbringing, my parents. There were no prejudices. Both my parents are very outgoing, so it caused me to be outgoing. And I do think kids today, because they are around so many other kids who are different than they are, with disabilities or whatever it might be, learning disabilities, physical disabilities, it's not as unique as it was then. But again, remember, Larry, this was a small town with a sense of community where people looked out for one another. And I think in my mind, I was just being friendly and looking out for somebody else who I realized at first was different, but you just said it perfectly. After a while, it didn't seem different. It was just somebody who wasn't as mobile as I was, but certainly was, as I said, even brighter than I was in many ways, and just enjoyed being around. So if our prejudice could all start to fall apart if we would just hang out with some of those people that we don't understand, who we think are different, and get to know them on a one-to-one basis.
Well, that is another wonderful thing you've said, yeah.
And with you being 9, then you found out years later that he was 10 years older than you. He was still a teenager at the age of 19. And
yes.
Sometimes teenagers don't like to be associated with younger children, but you and he really were able to connect.
Yeah, and I think part of it was, I think that there were many ways that we balanced that age out until, I have to tell you, I was shocked when I found out he was 10 years older. Mm-hmm. I just never considered that at all. Although I think at 9 years old, I'm not sure how kids, how they see age. Somebody could be 40 and they think they're very, 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 very old. But one of the other things, and I think this is important as well, when I talk about a sense of community, in this small town, there were 4 things that influenced me. And I'm not sure if those influences are still intact for kids today. In fact, as university president, sometimes I found students came to our campus without these 4. But the 4 things that influenced me and continue to carry an influence for me for the rest of my life are, number 1, the townspeople and the sense of community. Number 2, my church. Number 3, my school. And number 4, my family. And those 4 things all intertwined to, I think, help make me that 9-year-old that I was, and still continue to influence me today. And I do fear sometimes that young people don't have all of those influences in their lives, and maybe only have 1 or 2. And I have come across students who didn't have any of those.
Really? Did his the fact that he was somebody with cerebral palsy, did that affect your choices as far as what you did as a career?
You know, I'm not certain. I had the superintendent of our small school lived across the street from us. And one day I took Bernie on my paper route. Didn't think anything about it. It was something he wanted to see my paper route, so I took him on part of my paper route, which included the treacherous Thatcherville Hill, which is about a 30-degree incline.
Okay, but hold on. How did you do that? Did you pull, like he was in his wheelchair? I pulled
it. Well, I was figuring all these wonderful things out. I was going to get like a harness and strap him to my bike. And then I thought, no, this will look like I'm plowing the sidewalks of DeGraff. So I finally, simple is best. I just pushed his wheelchair until we got about halfway up this hill.
Oh, there you go.
And I had to turn him around. And as Bernie was looking down, I said, "Are you okay, buddy?" And I looked forward, and his eyes were as big as golf balls.
Oh, no.
And I think at that time I also realized, wow, I could be. There's a movie with Richard Widmark where he pushes a lady down a flight of steps. And I thought, I don't want to be remembered as Ricky Widmark of DeGraff. But that was one of those, wonderful adventures where I had a chance to get him out. And also, he met a number of people on my paper route that day. And I think that was probably one of his greatest days in terms of just seeing other people and getting to know some of my paper customers.
I think I may have interrupted you, and I think you were about to tell us that when you took him on your paper route, somebody made a comment to you after seeing you. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but did I do that to you?
No. Whether there was a lady on the paper route who thought I was crazy, but then there was also this. The prettiest girl in my class was on my paper route. Ooh. And Bernie would get crushes on people. And Rita was very nice to him. And he would say, months later, "Did Rita ask about me?" And I would, think, gosh, insecure guys like Bernie and me, we need pretty girls like Rita to think about it. So I might fudge a little bit and say, "Yeah, Bernie, she asked about you," but she thought I was pretty neat bringing him up there. So I was that hero for a day.
Oh man!
But now you understand the concept of the book, Side Yard Superhero.
Yeah.
And we have such a superheroes of people who can fly, who have great power, who can see through walls. But there's superheroes all around us every day, and we need just to take a moment to notice them and appreciate them.
And you have written such a wonderful poem also.
Which one? Which?
Small Towns.
Oh, Small Towns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that captures it.
Well, you're speaking to a small town. We live in a small town. Ocala is not 900 people. It's bigger than that, but it's still a small town. I love the cover, by the way. Somebody had a great idea. I don't know if it was you or somebody else, but it's a wheelchair with a cape, like a Superman cape, and instead of the S, it has the state of Ohio with a big B on it.
That is exactly right. Yeah, that was my wife and I kind of worked with a designer on it, but she came up with just what I thought was a perfect image. And the thing I like about that, if you notice, there's a picket fence, but there's an opening in the picket fence that almost shows symbolically a way to get out of that side yard.
Oh, I love that. I did see the picket fence, but I didn't realize it was symbolism in the not the missing picket, but the offset picket.
Exactly.
All right. I have a copy of the book. This is a beautiful book. Somebody out there is going to get this one. Call me if you want the copy that was sent to us. The rest of us have to go buy it. Rick, how do we buy the book?
You could go to any major bookstore. They might have to order it, but it's distributed nationally. Or go to my website, Rick Niece, and that's Niece, books.com. And also, the publisher is Five Star Publication. So or probably the major place is Amazon.
Okay.
Amazon, you can get it. But if you go to my website, there's a there's a book trailer.
Thank you, Rick. We're out of time. Thank you. That was a wonderful interview. We'll take a break and be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
A crowd of thousands on hand as President Obama welcomes Pope Francis to the White House after remarks the Pope and the President holding meetings this morning.
Things that were on his and our President's agenda. Caring for the marginalized.